Assalamu alaikum. You are listening to the Mid Morning Talk on Salam Media with me, Maryam Mkwanda. Shukran for joining me. It is 11:59. Well, I've got two clocks and one says 12 and the other says 11:59. I don't know what yours says, but we will go with 12. Right. So today we're going to be talking about anxiety in children. Many children have fears and worries and may feel sad and hopeless from time to time. Strong fears may appear at different times during development. For example, toddlers are often very distressed about being away from their parents, and even though they are safe and cared for. Now, what does anxiety in kids look like? And how you can help them as a parent and a caregiver. Let us find out with the Islamic Care Line's social worker, Shuhaida Adam. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, Shuhaida. Shukran for joining me.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullah. Wonderful to be on your show again and discussing quite an important topic. Also, we're building towards Child Protection Week, so I just wanted to focus a bit on some behaviors of children, just for parents to be a bit aware of some normal behaviors that children might experience, that they might struggle with also, and what can parents do to help them.
Exactly. I feel like whenever it comes to mental health and children, this is a topic that we don't cover much, we don't touch on much, and we need to because children, as much as adults, do also face mental health issues. Now, let's talk about anxiety. What does anxiety in children look like, and is it similar to that of adults?
Okay, so I'm not sure if many parents know this, but anxiety is actually a normal part of development.
Hmm.
It's a little bit normal for children to sometimes have nerves, to sometimes have some worries, and to have fears. So, in most cases, it usually comes and goes, it somehow rectifies itself. If we look at the different stages of development, for some babies, some toddlers, they normally they tend to fear things like loud noises, sudden noises. They can be afraid of strangers, being separated from their primary caregivers, or being around unfamiliar people. There's quite a bit of fears around that. There's a bit of anxiety around that. Older children also tend to show a bit of fear around new people, being left alone. Maybe now it's time to start preschool or going to daycare. There's a bit of fear of that, being on their own, being afraid of the dark. There's anxiety around that. That's a bit normal. And then your older children, as their imaginations grow, as their ability to have thinking, creative thinking, etc., they can make up things in their mind. They can be afraid of things like supernatural things like monsters, things that don't exist. As they get exposed to broader social situations, they can be a bit more anxious around social criticism, anxious around acceptance, anxious around interactions with other people. In the school environment, they can be anxious of engaging with an adult, with an educator. They can be anxious of performance. So even things like they have to be in front of the class, or when it's some form of an assessment. So they can be anxious around that. And they also very realistically can assess a threat. So they can sense now when something is wrong, when they are in harm's way. So if someone is coming after them, if there's a stranger following them, for example, or if they witness a fight, things like that. So there's quite a bit of anxiety there. And then as children get a bit older also, they can focus and worry about things like getting hurt, worry about being sick, worry about the family. They can be anxious around, for example, if there's conflict in the home, if the family financially, if there's financial struggles, children can take on that anxiety also and the worries around that. And your older adolescents, because they are more in tune with the world around them, they may worry about a lot more broader things, like the country. They may worry about the wars around the world. They can take on more other humanitarian challenges. They tend to worry about things like that. And then again, in terms of their social interactions, your adolescents, they can have a lot of anxiety around socializing and around acceptance, around their own mental health also, and around school, and worry about the future, things like careers, a way forward? Are they able to pass? Are they going to pass grade 12? That kind of a thing. So these normal worries, anxiety around, for younger children, we would look a lot more at the behaviors. So things like, do they withdraw? Do they hold something called selective mutism, where they're in a situation where they have such anxiety where they intensely afraid of actually talking. They will not even, they may not even respond to something as basic as a greeting. And it's essentially, this is their way of coping with the fear, the worry. And a lot of for younger children, we try to, I'll go a little bit into what parents can do, but we try to have them visualize the anxiety. And oftentimes it's like a bundle of nerves for them in their tummy, and it can then have a physical effect on their health also. So it's children who experience maybe social anxiety, they may have tummy aches. They may say they have headaches. They don't want to eat. They may want to go to the toilet quite a bit. So it manifests itself in quite a few different ways. Sometimes they won't want to let go of a person that they trust, or they want to hide away, or it may come up in some physical manifestations where they may start crying, or they may act out. They may take it out on another child through bullying. So it can come in different ways. The key here also is if it doesn't go away. So parents need to observe, like I said earlier, it's also a normal part of growing up. However, when it becomes unmanageable, when it's starting to affect the child's quality of life, when it's starting to affect the child's ability and capability to learn, to perform, to engage with people, then you would need to be a little bit more concerned. Where does it also sometimes come from? Sometimes it comes from our families. So as parents, how do we handle anxiety around our children? Unfortunately, also the environment that we live in, the country that we live in, I mean, children may have been exposed to really dangerous situations. They may have experienced crime already in their own homes. They may have experienced a situation where their sense of safety, their sense of security has totally been shattered, because we know that extreme crime happens it can happen to anybody in this country. And a lot of our children have been exposed to things that no child should actually be exposed to growing up. There may have been accidents, natural disasters. So even things like the recent floods we had in Durban, children got to see some really horrific, fearful images for themselves. So that can lead to trauma. There can be a genetic component to it. I won't go too much into that, but some children, they may inherit some of the genes from a parent that may make them a bit predisposed to experiencing anxiety. And then also the loss of a caregiver. So if there's a significant loss, if a parent has now passed on, even a sibling has passed on a significant person in the family, then they can be prone to some anxiety around that also. But the key thing here, what I want to just share with, I know we don't have too much time to go through things, but when we're raising children, we don't want to take it away from them. Some form of anxiety, it can be healthy. A while ago, I think we did cover on trauma responses. And I don't know if the viewers and listeners will remember when I spoke about some trauma responses can actually have a positive outcome also. So we want to model for our children, and we want to raise them in a way that they will be able to manage the anxiety, because difficulty is always going to be a part of life. Unless your child is completely removed from society and living in a very, very bubble world, there will always be challenges that come their way. So we want them to be able to learn how to manage it. And that's one of the skills that we want our children to develop. It's basically a life skill, right? So as much as parents, as much as we want to protect our children from difficult situations, as much as we want to rescue them, you actually, in the long run, it will benefit the child to learn how to manage anxiety. So one of the first things we also look at is how are parents managing their own anxiety or other family members that are significant to the child. We look at that. For example, if a child has to go for an injection, How is the parent approaching this? Is the parent already making the child worry that, okay, it's going to be so painful, it's going to be very sore, but don't cry, don't worry, you know, kind of you're leading the child towards a certain fear. Okay, we don't want to take it away because it can be anxious. It can be an anxious time to get a medical procedure. There will be a little bit of pain involved. You can't take that away from the child, but to prepare the child as best as possible. Okay, so we don't want to just avoid things. We don't want to always, if the child is a bit anxious around socializing, it's easy to think, okay, I'm not going to take them to other children. They can just play at home on their own, and they'll be quite fine. But ultimately, they're not learning how to deal with that. So avoiding it does not help really, and it actually reinforces the idea that I can just avoid that which makes me uncomfortable, which is not very realistic. As a parent, you can express a lot of positivity around the situation. Try not to also promise them something that's unrealistic. So if, for example, a simple thing like socializing, okay, if they're going to someone's birthday party, for example, and the child is worried that swimming, for example, there's going to be swimming, and the child is worried about going in the water or something. You don't have you can't tell them, you can't paint it out that they won't have to go through something. Okay, so even for example, something like at school, if they're worried about failing a test, you can't exactly tell them that they're not going to fail the test. You don't know that for certain, but you can explore that. You can try and promote it as positively as possible, so that they walk in with quite an optimistic mindset. Have children also can understand that they need to prepare for some things that are causing them anxiety. For example, the test, if they're worrying about the test, I mean, they would have to prepare for the test. If they are worrying about socializing with somebody, maybe they can bring a toy to help them socialize with the other child. They can plan what they want to talk about to other children or how they would like to play. Respect their feelings also, so don't minimize it. Recognize that the child does have a fear. Oftentimes we tell our children, there's nothing to worry about. What are you scared of? Don't worry about it. There's nothing in the dark. But your child is realistically quite afraid of something. So acknowledge their fears. So telling them that I can see that there's something is causing you quite a bit of distress. I can see that you're really worried about this. What is it about this thing that's making you worry? What is it that's causing you quite a bit of fear? Okay, so explore it, allow the child to feel the fear, and then explore with the child also what can they also do about it. What would make it easier for them? So that also empowers a child to take a little bit of, to feel that they're a little bit in control of their life also. And then it will help them have a greater sense of inner world to resolve challenges that they go through. Okay, so having them, for example, if a child is scared of the dark, what would help them feel a bit better? Maybe they'll say, okay, if I have a small night light, or if you don't close the bedroom door, or if you stay with me until I fall asleep, etc., etc. You'll have to put boundaries into place, though. So, I mean, it can be easy for a child to say, no, I don't want to sleep on my own. I don't want to be in the dark at all. I'm going to come and sleep in your bed. But then that's when you would have to put boundaries into place to allow them to then realize that they'll have to act within certain boundaries, and they'll have to then sort of face the fears that they are experiencing. You would also then recognize where it's causing where it's severely impacting your child's well-being. When it's extremely, if you feel that it's quite serious, you will then also have to recognize when is there a need to actually get a little bit of extra help. You can start off maybe with your GP, who knows your child, who may be aware of your child's personality. A GP can assist, and if your GP also recommends further counseling, the child can come for play therapy. It will also help. We do certain techniques in play therapy that helps children with general anxiety, that helps them face their fears. So recognize also when to seek help. And another good ally that you can utilize when addressing your child's anxiety is their teacher. If they are in school, if they are in even in creche, grade R, etc., build a relationship with the teacher, and your child, the teacher can give you a bit more insight into your child's behavior away from you. So build a good relationship with the teacher, consult with the teacher, and that can definitely make a difference. And you would keep them updated also. And most teachers also, they have your child's well-being as their primary interest. So they would be also quite willing to help you further, even if it's just some tips and guide on how you can address it specific to your child.
All right, Shuhaida, let us take a quick ad break. And when we return, we can continue with the chat on anxiety and hopefully take some questions and look for solutions to how to better deal with anxiety and depression. Please stay with us.
Listen to Salam Media, your humanitarian broadcaster.
Freedom Stationery supply Marlin and Marlin Kids pens to me and my school friends. They supply just about everything we need to help us get a better education, from books to files to rulers. In fact, any any accessory we need. Freedom Stationery. Education for the nation. What does accessory mean?
As Palestine faces unrest, Africa Muslims Agency teams are on the ground providing emergency food to families. Donate 1,500 Rand or any amount to help the people of Palestine and imagine the difference you can make. Call AMA now on 011-834-8685 or donate online at africamuslimsagency.co.za. Africa Muslims Agency, 35 years of empowering, educating, and inspiring.
You know, it's a wonder how kids get anything done these days. With all the distractions, when do they even get time to study? As a mother, all I can really do is make sure they have all they need to perform at their best. That's why I choose to include Sunfoil triple refined pure sunflower oil with every meal I make. Naturally cholesterol-free and approved by the Heart and Stroke Foundation as part of a balanced eating plan. So whether I'm cooking, frying, or baking, I know every dish will be a wholesome one. Sunfoil, now we're cooking.
Give charity without delay, for it stands in the way of calamities. For child-headed households in Bloemendal in the Eastern Cape, the daily diet consists of white bread and a carton of cheap juice or sugar water, known locally as the poppy water diet. Make a difference to that one child or family. The Al-Fida Foundation has over the past 13 years worked on the ground and gathered the largest database in the Eastern Cape region of Muslim Zakah recipients. Phone our offices at 041-484-1288 or visit our website at www.alfida.co.za. The Al-Fida Foundation, your social investment partner in the Eastern Cape.
It's a new beginning. It's a new era. Salam Media, humanitarian journalism.
It is 12:18. You are listening to the Mid-Morning Talk on Salam Media with me, Maryam Mkwanda, and we are talking about anxiety in children, the signs and symptoms to look out for, and how you can treat them. Now, children, like adults, do have anxiety. I mean, it's normal. It's normal for each and every one of us to experience anxiety. But the problem comes when it becomes too much of that problem. You know, you're feeling too anxious when something happens, or maybe like for kids going to school, and it's no longer a thing of just going there because it's the first few days of school and you're afraid of the outcome, you're afraid of making new friends, etc. It's no longer that, but rather it's like you don't want to see yourself in that situation. I know many of us have experienced such anxiety as kids, not wanting to go to school, not wanting to be with certain people, etc. And that is normal. And so things like anxiety need to be nipped in the bud before it becomes a bigger issue when the child becomes an adult. But having a small amount of anxiety is normal. I mean, your nerves, you're getting anxious for what's to come, what's going to happen, etc. That is normal. But yeah. Anyways, still with me is a Shuhaida Adam, social worker from Islamic Care Line, talking to us about anxiety. Shuhaida, what happens when, or rather, when should parents and caregivers be concerned with the anxiety in their children?
Okay, so like I said earlier, when it's impacting on your child's quality of life, their capabilities and their abilities. When also it gets to a point where it's rather unmanageable and the child's the responses are getting a bit extreme. Some general, I suppose, some symptoms of anxiety include things like your child's ability to concentrate in class, the ability to complete the work. And the other thing with anxiety also is that sometimes we then get caught in a cycle because we're quite nervous about something. We can't really do it as well as we'd like. And then that makes us even more nervous and gives us even a bit more anxiety. And then we get trapped in that cycle of anxiety. So explore with your child what is going on. Things like the appetite. If you may see that your young child is coming with, they're not eating their lunch at school, explore why they possibly either, they're too nervous to eat. Look also if there's a genuine problem. Are they being bullied? I had a child who is struggling with schoolwork because he simply actually cannot see the board because of the sunlight that is reflecting on the board. Something like that, it's causing him quite a bit of distress, and there's a very real practical reason to why he is struggling. Then we have a bit more serious consequences also, where children, they may possibly have a developmental disorder, so something along the lines of autism. Children who are diagnosed along the autism spectrum, they tend to experience anxiety a lot more than children who don't. The child may have ADHD or ADD, so looking at your more diagnosable mental health conditions. Anxiety can be one of the symptoms of those mental health conditions. So if it is a bit more serious and you're looking again at these quite a bit of symptoms coming together, if your child is struggling socially with their mental health, with their ability and their capabilities, their learning, their memory retention, their concentration, and if the school also does recommend an assessment, then it would do your child well. It would do you as a parent well also to maybe go for that assessment, so you know exactly how your child is presenting and how the child is manifesting any symptoms there. We then also have certain things where children, it may sound a little bit opposite, but your child may be acting out in class as a result of their anxiety. So for example, if they are afraid of show and tell, or if they don't want people to see them, they may try their best to get out of it. They may act up. They may go walking out of class. So they may then be construed as a difficult child. They may be seen as a defiant child, an oppositional child. Look at the behaviors there. And then as they get older, we worry also as they enter maybe that adolescent phase, they may start self-harming as a means of coping with their fears and coping with their anxiety. They may then develop into full-blown depression. So we find also adolescents and your older adolescents, they also quite a bit of self-harm behavior is occurring in our communities. We get quite a bit of cases. And the thing with self-harm behavior, so your behaviors like cutting or reckless behavior, it's also it's a way of coping with a lot of difficulty that's on the inside, or somebody who's struggling on the inside. So as a means of coping with nerves, with fear, with anxiety around their social situations, around their family, around their own mental health, around school, you find your adolescents and your older adolescents. And once it starts becoming a habit and that people are not really addressing it, it may then go into adulthood also. And of course, one of the greatest consequences of self-harm is accidental suicide. So we definitely want to prevent that. And the depression, I mean, then the person can be then at risk for depression for ongoing into adulthood also. And as they then grow older and as they start their families, it might then become just a cycle that gets perpetuated to the children that they start raising. So as you can see also, so much around mental health, it can be then perpetuated to the next generation, and then we find ourselves as a society also quite stuck in harmful coping methods. So it's, as a parent, I don't necessarily want to cause fear with people, but know your child, observe your child, explore fully what's going on. And the way you're really going to be able to understand is if you stay connected to your child. If you are a very distant parent, a parent who's not really connected, you may find that your child is not necessarily going to open up to you. They may just tell you on a very superficial level that things are okay, or I'm just worried about this. But if you can maintain that connection with your child, and the way also really just on a very general level, how to maintain the connection with your child is to remain interested in your child, asking them about their thoughts, not just asking them about the activities or the tasks that they've done, or what's due, what do they have to do. Getting their thoughts, getting their opinions, know their interests, engaging in their interests. And that is one of the easiest, one of the most general ways I can tell parents to stay connected with their child. As your child grows older, it will be a bit more challenging to stay connected, but try your best. Especially as they get older, it's a lot more important to get their thoughts and their opinions, and not just so much about general matters, or talking about yourself, or talking about just family dynamics, and talking about other people. Staying connected with your child in terms of their thoughts, their interests, their social circles, who they want to talk about. If they want to tell you what their friends did, show some interest. Know who their friends are, so that you're very much a part of their world, and you can try to remain positive and optimistic with your child around whatever they're sharing with you. So if they're sharing their struggles as older teens, if they're sharing their struggles, if they're sharing their opinions, and if your child seems to be a lot more pessimistic around certain things, try to guide them to be a little bit more optimistic, because optimism, it plays a role in helping improve mental health. So things like depression and anxiety, general anxiety disorders, trying to maintain an optimistic outlook, it makes a difference. It's not, of course, the cure. It's not unrealistic. It helps a bit. It does help in terms of treatment and therapy.
Mm-hmm. When you spoke about school and the defiant child, I remembered one of my classmates who used to cry whenever she had to say a speech or present something in front of the class, and until the teacher told her to, okay, just go and sit down. If you're not ready for this, just go and sit down. And as children, you never look at this as an anxiety problem, or maybe an even bigger issue. We just look at it as, man, this child is probably unprepared, and they are looking for an excuse to get out of saying their speech or doing a presentation. But now it makes more sense. And it also, as parents, when we were growing up, our parents never spoke to us about our emotions, anxiety, trauma, depression, etc. So as parents of this new age, it's something that we need to break free from. We need to start talking to our kids about this, and letting them know that it's okay to feel the way you feel. And obviously there is help and there is light at the end of the tunnel. Because if these issues are left undealt with, we become a community that does not speak. We become a community that brushes everything and issues under the carpet. We become the community that we are today, that we are trying to recover from. So parents need to start talking to their kids about anxiety, etc. And it's never too late. It's never too late to start. Just start now. Shuhaida, shukran so much for your time. Please share.
Definitely, it's never too late.
Line's contact details with us.
Okay, like you said, it's never too late. There are certain techniques that just as a parent you could do in your own home. You don't need a therapeutic background to be able to assist your children with anxiety. So parents are welcome to contact us. We can set up a few parenting sessions. Your children don't even have to come in for counseling, for play therapy at this point. We started with you as the parent. We have some very basic techniques we can assist you with. You can contact us on 011 373 8080 or 078 727 1334, and give us a call, and you speak to one of our parenting counselors, and we'll just take it from there, inshallah.
Inshallah. It was lovely chatting to you once again, Shuhaida, and take care. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Once again, the numbers for Islamic Care Line is 011 373 8080 or 078 727 1334. And Islamic Care Line will assist you with any social problems or mental issues that you might be facing on your own or as a family, or if you know someone in your family who is. It is 12:30. You are listening to the Mid Morning Talk on Salam Media.